if you meet somebody who's had a hard life, they seem to be pretty wise.
Yes.
It's difficult to find someone who's had a hard life who's a total idiot. When you speak to these liberals or these morons, they've had very easy, soft lives. So I think humans are supposed to struggle a bit.
Absolutely.
And in the Western world, it's the age-old adage. I know it's overused, but hard times create good men create good times, and the good times create a bunch of weaklings, and they mess everything up.
Yeah, it goes to a point, and then it goes the opposite.
It goes the opposite way.
Yeah.
These people have had too easy lives for too long. And you can apply this to nearly any of the societal ills that apply to the Western world. People have had it too easy for too long, and none of them know any struggle at all. I mean, I don't know about you, to be honest with you. Like I can almost crash my car 10 times. And I only slow down when I hit the tree. This is how I am. Like, I think that inside of the human psyche, sometimes you need to be shocked. You need to be hammered with something. That's just how it goes. Because until then, you're like, maybe I'll keep it in mind.
Yeah, well, I got away with it. You keep going.
Yeah. But when you finally learn your lesson, right? But there's a lot of these people out there who aren't being taught any lessons at all. And they're going to destroy society en masse because they have never had any kind of difficulty in their life. And what is life without difficulty in the first place? What is life? What is the point of life without difficulty? One of the things that's comforted me in all my garbage is actually, I watched one of your videos, and I was watching one of your videos a couple years ago, and I remembered it in jail. Because perhaps I'm wrong, you can correct me, but I don't think you regret any of the bad things that happened to you.
Not at all.
Because it makes you who you are.
Yeah, not at all.
So when people say, Andrew, what are you going to do if they lock you up for 10 years in Rahova, the worst jail in Europe? I'm going to say, well, that's going to be a story. Mm-hmm. That's going to be fun. Maybe I'm crazy.
Let me ask you, how much time are you facing if all this nonsense goes down? 8 to 10. 8 to 10. And what do you do on that? Yeah.
So 8 to 10 years in Romania, that'd probably be around 5 or 6 years. It's like 2/3. And Rahova jail is the worst jail in Europe. So
Heard that.
Yeah, it's overpopulated. And Romanian jail is interesting because I wouldn't actually say it's as violent as a Western jail. Perhaps I'm wrong, but you see the Western jails is very race segregated, and there's drugs and there's violence.
State jails, yeah.
State jails. But Romania doesn't have that because everyone's Romanian. So there's not really a race problem. And they don't really have a problem with foreigners in general. And they know me and my brother inside out. So they know exactly who we are. And we're accepted as one of them. So that's not a problem. The problem with Romanian jail is two things. Is that one, there's a lot of mental illness because they don't have a segregation between mental illness and crime in the poorer countries. The poorer a country is, the closer it is to your weird jail. They don't have time to deal with the other side of it all. It's very expensive and it's very complicated.
It's just jail.
It's just jail. Yeah. You did this, but you're mentally ill. I don't care. You did it, jail.
Right.
So you have a lot of mental illness, and then there's a lot of problem with just the general cleanliness. These jails were built in the communist era. They're infected with cockroaches. They've never been fumigated in any way. There's insects, there's bed bugs. It's filthy. This is the big problem with it, was the filth. If it wasn't so filthy, it wouldn't be so bad. But this is what bothered me the most, is finding cockroaches in your food and this kind of thing. But then if I had to choose, would I choose a more violent scenario to avoid the filth? I don't know. If you get stabbed, you're going to wish you didn't. I mean, I slept pretty good in there. People knew who I was, and people had a degree of respect.
Were you segregated most of the time? Your own cell?
At the beginning, it was me and my brother. We were in separate cells with other people, but then eventually they put us in together because they tapped our cells, so they put us in together to try and find get us talking. And then it became a little bit easier. But I'm looking at 8 to 10 years, but maybe I'm nuts. Maybe I'm nuts. But in a world where everyone's chasing comfort and I'm chasing challenges, I really do think that would be it'll be a story. I mean, if I don't go to, I'm going to try my very best to not go to jail and I'm innocent. Fine, of course. And maybe this is code. I'm just talking out loud so people can understand my thought process. If you were to ask me in 5 years from now, let's say I catch 3 years bid, or I don't. 5 years from now, what did you do? I flew around in private jets. I went to Italy. I went to Dubai. I drove my fast cars. Blah, 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 blah. If I go to jail, the story's different. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. Maybe I'm nuts. But
the story's different, but I don't think you need to tell that one.
and I'm not wishing for it to happen.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to explain to people who don't understand why I'm not afraid. Because I know that retrospectively, I won't regret it. At the time, I may suffer. Right. I may suffer for a while afterwards. But I like to think, and I hope you can confirm this for me, that you wake up one day and you think back on it and go, yeah, I'm kind of glad that happened.
Yeah, well, honestly, I spent 29 months in solitary. out of my 8 years.
Wow.
And it was probably the best thing that happened to me. Yeah, I mean that, Andrew. Best thing that happened to me, because things became very clear. When you're in isolation and you're alone, you can go either way. You could either go crazy, like I saw a lot of guys do, and I don't demean them, because isolation is tough. Those lights go out at night. Sometimes guys can't handle it. You saw a lot of bad stuff. I get it. It's tough. I'm dead set against isolation for young people. They're young. It's going to be tough for them to survive. But I came out of there a lot clearer on who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. And so that time worked for me. You got to make it work for you. You could go either way.
Of course.
And for me, it worked.
Yeah, and I guess perhaps that's just a general mindset in general. Like if life gives you lemons, make lemonade, right? I mean, there's two ways you can do it. I also think we're talking about the tenets of masculinity. I think one of the core tenets of masculinity, and me personally, I blame myself for everything. Everything's my fault. It's my fault. If I go to jail, even though I'm innocent, it's still my fault. I ran my mouth on the internet. It's my fault. I could have learned Romanian and defended myself better in court. I didn't. It's my fault.
I got to tell you something. I say this all the time. Okay, people ask me, Michael, what's some of your secrets? I said, some of my secrets. One of my main secrets is this: everything that goes wrong in my life, I take full responsibility for.
100%.
Because number one, if it was somebody else that did it, I should have known better. I should have seen it. I should have not let it happen. When you do, that's a man, Andrew. When you can take everything on yourself so that the next time you don't make it happen, it's such a benefit. And people don't get it. Oh, you know, this guy did me wrong. He did me. Yeah, he did. Why did you let him do you wrong?
100%.
My fault. I should have seen it. I'm smart enough. I should have known this. I've been through this. If you always take responsibility yourself, you're 100% better in life.
You can't learn lessons if you're blaming everybody else for what happens to you.
Exactly. That's another thing I just cannot stand about our president. The guy never cops to anything. Everything is somebody else's fault. It's this, it's that. It wasn't my fault. I did everything right. These are all, I just can't take that in somebody. Even with my kids, my son. Well, Dad, it wasn't my fault. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Even if it wasn't, it's your fault.
Because that's how you learn and prevent it.
Right.
And if you have that mentality, it also makes you stronger mentally, I think, to deal with the difficult things in life. Because if you go to jail and you believe, and you were set up, and a lot of people have, and you're like, oh, the system's wrong, this is wrong, this person lied, I'm a victim, poor me. I don't think that's the right position of strength. I think I think you go into jail and go, okay, that's all garbage. Yes, it's a matrix attack, X, Y, Z. However, I could have done this, this, and this, and now it's my chance to do this, this, and this, so I don't waste the next few years of my life. And I'm going to come out and I'm going to do my very best to be the person I know I can be. And it gives you a degree of fearlessness. It gives you a degree of fearlessness. And that's probably one of the largest problems with society today, is that a lot of men have become cowards. They're afraid to talk. Even us, we talk, it gets us in trouble, right? But every time they mess with us, they damage themselves. One of the overviews, one of the contingents to holding power is that people have to trust you with it. Power, the only guarantee of power, someone said this to me once and I keep saying it, I love it. The only guarantee of power is that one day you're going to lose it. If you have power over a woman and she listens to every word you say, one day she'll stop listening. Might be the same in the mob world. You control the streets. One day, you just don't control that street anymore. When you have power, people get power and they never think of this. The only guarantee of it is that one day it's going to be gone. And you have to prepare for that. And one of the quickest ways to lose power is when you can't be trusted with power. We give our governments and these institutions power because we trust them, right? The whole world is based on the trust of these systems. As soon as people stop trusting them, they can't do their job anymore. So every single time they do some two-tier policing garbage, every single time they attack somebody purely for their views, like Trump, like you, like I, we're like a poison frog, and they eat us. And they teach us a lesson and we do some jail, that's fine. But they get a little bit of poison in them because they instill distrust amongst the populace. It gets to a point where once nobody trusts them at all, then it's over, right? Nobody's gonna sit there and go, oh, we'll go to court, or I'll wait for court. Once everyone knows it's a scam, then it's done. So it's kind of like, how do you beat the matrix? How do you defeat the matrix? Well, I'm sitting here running my mouth. They put me in jail for it. I'm now currently on bail and have been told not to run my mouth. And I continue to run my mouth and they'll probably put me in jail. And maybe I'm martyring myself, but you have to, it does damage them.
Do you have a gag order on you?
I don't have a gag order. I have no official gag order. However, my legal counsel was like, look, you should be careful what you say about Romanian jail and
Yeah.
Romania, and you're inside Romania, and you should be very respectful. And I was like, oh, I am going to be respectful, but I'm also going to tell the truth. And they have to damage themselves to do what they're doing. And when people lose faith in these institutions, that's when they're going to have to come along and be honest again. Because right now they don't have to be honest at all, because there's still a huge percentage of the population. You probably heard this saying, and it's a saying that angers me a lot. Why don't you get a lawyer? You ever hear that one? It's like, oh, I never thought of trying a lawyer. Oh, a lawyer. Oh, okay, I'll get a lawyer. And the law? Oh, fine. I'll go home. It's no problem. It's gone now. It's not how it works. It's not how it works. And once people realize that's not how it works en masse, then we're going to have to come into a new system, which I'm hoping we do, because the amount of dishonesty that we're operating under now is truly scary. And God's truth is light, and sunlight is a disinfectant. But it's actually kind of scary. I think this is one of the reasons why, as well, men are cowards. It's scary to wake up and realize that every single thing you're supposed to believe in is a scam. The educational system's a scam. The financial system's a scam. The judicial system's a scam. The medical system's a scam. All the wars we went to are scams. And when you start to realize, oh, this is all a lie, well, then you need bravery, right? So it's easier just to be an ostrich and stick your head in the sand. And then you're going to accept the slave programming because it makes you feel better. And that's just cowardice. And this is what I think we're suffering from massively.
We are. And you know another problem, Andrew, I always said this. It's not strong people you have to worry about. It's weak people that all of a sudden get power. The weak people that get power and don't understand how to use it, and it puffs them up, and they think, okay, I'm God now. I'm Godzilla. I can do anything I want. And those are the people that you have to worry about.
It's like a drug they're not used to.
Exactly.
If you're a powerful person, you go through life and you've always been treated with a degree of respect, and you have a degree of respect back. But if you're the kind of person who's never been respected and you get some power, you're
Forget
evil.
it.
You're evil. You literally become a psychopath. You're evil. You cannot trust weak people with power, absolutely. And that's what's so scary, because I guess in the hierarchies of old, up until very modern times, it would be extremely difficult for a weak person to obtain power.
No.
But now we have these hierarchies where everything's so messed up and turned on its head, where the only people in power are weak.
Well, that's it, because we have a generation of weak people that are now getting power. And that's the problem.
And also, when a weak man can be... See, anyone who does not understand that they're attacking Trump because he's a good guy has a mental deficiency. It's very simple. You don't have to agree with all of his policies. There's some things he says I don't personally agree with. Fine, who cares? Of course. You don't have to agree with everything. The point is, they're attacking him because he's on the good team. Because the reason they like weak people in power is because weak people can be intimidated and scared, which is why they want them to be in power. So when they go to these backdoor meetings, people walking into rooms and saying things, they comply with the true masters, and they work for the person they're supposed to work for, which is to globalize finance and not their contingency, not their constituency. That's what they want. So having weak leaders is dangerous, because weak people do the most evil. Because they're too scared to stand
100%.
up. They're too scared to stand up and fight against evil. It's really interesting that the world is so brutally simple. And truthfully, a lot of it comes down to the capability, or at least the propensity, or at least a lack of fear of violence. I was having a conversation with a girl, and she was saying that, oh, men like wars, men go to wars. I said, oh yeah, it's all men's fault, men go to wars. Okay. You don't understand the world very much. But the world is war. Everything is war. And the reason you get to drive around in your little Mercedes and live in a peaceful society is because there's an underpinning of violence everywhere. Everyone understands that if they do certain things, eventually will end up in a violent scenario. If you speed on the highway and they give you a ticket and you don't pay the ticket, and they add more money and you don't pay it, and they tell you to go to court and you don't go, and then they come and say, come to go to court, and you say no, they'll come to arrest you and you say, I don't want to be arrested. And then eventually, violence. We have all this paperwork on top, and we have all this nice facade, but when it gets down to it, it ends up in violence. It doesn't matter if it's the legal system or your life. I'm sure you try and talk to somebody and I don't want to get in trouble. Yeah, it all ends up in violence. This is the underpinning. And when you have men who are afraid of violence, then they're always going to have the opinion they're told to have. They'll say 2 + 2 is 5. And if you say it's 4, we're going to fight. If you're scared of a fight, well, then 2 + 2 is 5. And a fight doesn't mean win.
It means fight.
Fight means fight.
Right.
I can't win when the police raid my house. I mean, I could try and win and get in a shootout and die if that would be beneficial to me in any way. But I'm not scared of getting my ass kicked. Maybe that's the difference. Come, put me in jail then.